Good morning again and welcome. We're really glad that you could join us for today's session. If you're here, chances are you're looking for relatable strategies to help you get the most out of your retirement and estate plan, and you are absolutely in the right place. Our presenter today is someone I've had the privilege of working closely with for years, and someone who's made a career out of finding smarter, more strategic ways for people to preserve, grow, and ultimately pass on their wealth. Jim Lange is a CPA and an estate attorney. He's a nationally recognized expert on Roth IRA conversions, IRA and retirement plan distribution planning, and tax-savvy estate strategies. His planning techniques have been endorsed by the Wall Street Journal 36 times, and that's just one of the many publications that have featured his work, including Forbes, Newsweek, the New York Times, Kiplinger's, and the Washington Post. Jim's also the author of 10 best-selling books with endorsements from some of the biggest names in finance. People like Charles Schwab, Ed Slott, Burton Malkiel, Jane Bryant Quinn, and the late Larry King, just to name a few. His books, including Retire Secure, The Roth Revolution, and his two latest, Retire Secure for Professors and TIAA Participants, and Retire Secure for Parents of a Child with a Disability, have helped thousands of people make smarter choices about their retirement plans, their tax strategies, and their legacies. But what makes Jim stand out isn't just his credentials or his media mentions. It's his ability to take complex tax law and translate it into real-world strategies that work. He's been ahead of the curve for decades, from writing the first peer-reviewed article on Roth IRAs back in 1998 to predicting the elimination of the stretch IRA years before the Secure Act made it a reality, and developing practical strategies that help clients to minimize the impact. Through his interrelated companies, including our CPA firm, which prepares over 750 tax returns a year, and a registered investment advisory firm that helps clients plan for more than $1 billion in assets, Jim and our team have spent decades helping families build comprehensive financial master plans tailored to their unique situations. Today's session is going to be dense with value and actionable information. Whether you choose to work with us or not, you'll walk away with insights that you can put to use right away. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jim Lange.
It was 1997, and back then hardly anybody had even heard of Roth IRAs or Roth IRA conversions, including me. But I was reading the advance sheets, which were technical bulletins to CPAs and other interesting parties, and it had a little blurb about this future legislation that may or may not pass called Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions that was submitted by or being tried to pass by Senator Roth. And I was just blown away. I thought, this will be unbelievable. This can be like the thing that we have all been looking for, a way to generate and grow tax-free income for yourself and even the next two generations. So I was pretty excited about it, and I knew I wanted to be part of it. And I ran the numbers and they checked out, and I knew this was going to be big. But I wasn't well known at the time, and I thought, well, how do I get the word out about this new type of legislation that hardly anybody had ever heard of? And the way to do that, at least in my mind, was to write an article and get it peer reviewed. So what does that mean? So let's say you're a doctor and you have a new cure or a new treatment for something, for some type of disease. What do? You go to a peer-reviewed journal like the New England Journal of Medicine, and you say, I would like to reserve this topic, and I would like to write an article about it. Then I'd like to submit the article to your reviewers, and if it passes muster with this, group of nitpicking reviewers who just want to tear your head off, but if it survives and passes muster, then you'll publish it. And then if they say, okay, yes, you have the right credentials, we're going to reserve the topic, that's what they do. Well, the way it works in the tax world is the peer-reviewed journal is known as the Tax Advisor, which is the official tax publication for the American Institute of CPAs. So I went to the editor and, of course, this is done in writing, and you say, I have this idea for a peer-reviewed article on this new type of legislation, Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions, which back then hardly anybody knew and really didn't think it was much of a big deal. And the editor said, oh, okay, sure, you can reserve the topic. And I went to work, putting together the article with lots of analysis. And back then, we didn't have any of this fancy software that we have then. We used Excel spreadsheets, proving that this Roth IRA conversion was going to be enormously beneficial for a lot of IRA and retirement plan owners, and that was my main base. So anyway, I submitted the article, and eventually it was published. It won the Article of the Year, and it kind of launched my career on Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions. I started speaking all over the country. Back then, I was getting $10,000 a day to speak to financial advisors and CPAs and attorneys. And, it was just a wonderful, wonderful avenue. But back then, there was a limit that your income, technically your modified adjusted gross income, had to be less than $100,000 or you didn't qualify for a Roth IRA conversion. So I thought, wow, well, this is going to be great for my clients who are perhaps retired, but they haven't hit minimum required distribution years. This isn't going to really affect me personally in my financial situation. Then in February 1998, I got the call. Oh no, my business was literally on fire. I rush down and I see my business just in flames. I was able to, let's say, recover somewhat, was able to find an office quickly, and I was well insured, but 1998 was a terrible year because I didn't really get most of my expenses back from the insurance company until the following year. So before, my income was well above $100,000. Then in 1998, it was well below $100,000. And then in subsequent years, it was above. But in 1998, my income was less than $100,000. And that meant I qualified for a Roth IRA conversion personally. My wife and I, between us, we had about $250,000 in our 401ks and IRAs. And I said to my wife, I think that we should convert all of it. My wife is a pretty smart cookie. She has a master's degree in electrical engineering from Carnegie Mellon, and she's very good with math. She wanted to, and she knew about the article, and she was helping me with it. And she reviewed it for our situation. And even though she hates paying the taxes, we paid the taxes on that $250,000. Now we have Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks literally in the millions of dollars. And it literally changed my finances. And the information that I gleaned from that article and those talks has gone on to help literally thousands of people generate tax-free income. And it started with, for me personally, with this fire. And we were, and the fire, by the way, came from, and it was an electrical fire. We were on the second floor building above a pizza shop. But that fire literally launched me personally, and I was able to tell the story of how I was able to accumulate literally millions of dollars in tax-free growth from Roth IRA conversions. And by the way, one of the lessons is never put your office above a pizza shop. But anyway, I bring this up because I want to do a little background on, let's say, the environment of where we were and where we are now. And where we are now is a much different time than in 1998. I believe that we are in the most volatile and unpredictable time in modern history, maybe going back to World War II, about what is going to happen and how should I plan for this. And this anxiety and uncertainty is very important in the big scheme of things, because the market does not like what is going on with the tariffs. The market doesn't like trade wars with China. the market doesn't like threatened mass changes to existing institutions or deportation policies resulting in labor force shocks or restrictions on immigration, particularly for highly skilled labor. Um, and we have seen significant drops within the last two months and even before that. We have potentially rising deficits, unsustainable debt levels, fears of government shutdowns, and the market doesn't like all this stuff. Instability, erosion of the central bank independence, which many of us have always treasured and considered that independent of the executive branch, and the politicalization of our judicial system. So all these factors, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, is causing anxiety. And what is going on internationally with our trade allowances and the tariffs is a big deal. And what the tariffs are, if you think about it, it's a little bit like a sales tax because things are going to become more expensive. And one of the things about Roth IRA conversions is I often get the question, hey, Jim, what if they eliminate the income tax? Then I made all these Roth IRA conversions. I spent all the money to convert these traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs, and then I'm not going to be any better off. And I always said, hey, gee, you are right if they eliminate the income tax, but I think what's going to happen is if there is some kind of national sales tax, it's going to be in addition to the income tax. And I think that that's actually what's happening now, which is the tariffs are like a sales tax, but we still have the income tax. And that is where we are right now. And I think getting some idea of the big picture is important because this anxiety does eat at us, and it helps us maybe being overly cautious, but it helps us give a perspective. Historically, markets go up when tariffs are reduced or eliminated. In fact, we saw that when there was a pause in the tariffs, which will hopefully continue, and the market went way up. But we really don't know what is going to happen. And we don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, what was then the 90-day tariff moratorium. But we have some trade wars. The market is rattled. There's increased volatility. China is investing heavily in AI. With the Chinese government support, one of the companies there literally built let's say a facility that's about 230 football fields big, filled with about 35,000 scientists and support folks working on AI. And in the meantime, we're actually cutting funding to our educational institutions. And this has some long-term effect also. The other thing that China has been able to do is they have been dominating the production and distribution of rare earth production, of rare earth, which is vital to tech, defense, clean energy, and the US supply chain is seriously threatened. So these are areas that cause great anxiety because China's playing the long game, and I fear that we are playing the short game. We have alienated many of our traditional allies, including Europe, Mexico, Canada, many others. We've left the Paris Accords, which is global warming. We have threatened institutions of the US court system, Medicaid, which really scares me, particularly as a parent of a child with a disability who is somewhat dependent on Medicaid, let's say, in Medicaid support and some of the ways that we can provide for our population that does have a disability. The IRS is seriously diminished. Universities are under attack. The Federal Reserve is under attack. The NIH, which is kind of like the bastion of peer-reviewed science, is being cut and under attack. The Environmental Protection Agency, same thing. Many more that I can go on. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we are not in, quote, normal times, not that any times are normal, but I think that we have to be very, very cautious about our investments, our tax planning, our long-term strategies in this very, very volatile age. JP Morgan just increased their their projection of the chance of a recession to 60%. Goldman Sachs, previously at 20%, their projection of chance of recession went up to 45%. The New York Fed's, their model shows about a 30% probability of recession. And it's pretty hard to model the actions of President Trump and the folks that control these types of decisions with tariffs and many other areas. And by the way, I'm not, parroting the New York Times or the liberal media press. Most of my sources for most of these things is actually the Wall Street Journal. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting in the Wall Street Journal was an article by Jason Zweig, because everybody's wondering, well, gee, should I get into the market? Should I get out of the market? Should I, what should I do? And Jason Zweig's advice, which I thought was conservative, sound advice, is to not do something that you're going to regret. So what are some of those things that you might regret? Well, one of the things is if you completely get out of the market, and what typically happens despite all our problems, in the long run, markets do go up. Even after they go down, Jack Bogle always talked about the reversion to the mean. If you go full force in and the market doesn't do well and we do suffer a recession, and the market stays down for many years, then we're going to regret that. So he's not necessarily recommending any wholesale changes to our portfolio, but what he does recommend is to try to cut expenses. And that certainly seems sound for the majority of investors. My problem with that is most of my clients, most of the people that I communicate to, are spending well less than they can afford. And one of my goals as an advisor is to help them not just accumulate more money, but to have a better life. And for those of you who've known me, for many years, I've been preaching what my father-in-law actually does in practice, which is he has a paid vacation for his entire family, where we all gather for about 4 days in the Poconos to have fun, and he has kept the family together. And he's been doing this for over 25 years. I don't want people like him to not have these family vacations. I don't want them to spend less money than they can afford. And I hate the idea that people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe even beyond, are to put off family vacations when there's not all that many years left to have these types of events. So anyway, I think Jason Zweig's advice to most people, which is to be very careful about expenses during these uncertain times, is sound. On the other hand, I don't want people to not do things that are very important, and that in the long run, which I do believe that we are going to be okay in the long run, but certainly not in the short run. And maybe the long run might be 10, 20 years, but I hate people to do things that will hurt them and their families in the long run. Now, I should mention, I am not a money manager. I work with money managers. I don't like to give investment advice. On the other hand, right now, I think so many people are just in this uncertain world and they don't know what to do, and they're looking for guidance. And while I don't want to give investment advice, I do want to try to be accurate and say, hey, this is the environment that we are in, and we should be aware of this. And not that it should be relevant, because again, I'm not an investment advisor, I'm not a macroeconomic expert, but people still ask me all the time, well, gee, Jim, what did you do during this period? And I'll say that I made in the big scheme of things, a minor shift. I went away from stocks for about 5% of my and my wife's portfolio, and I put it into other areas. Um, but I am frankly afraid of some of the things going on. The other thing that I am afraid of, and that I have some more direct knowledge of, is the IRS freeze and what is likely to be, and there are estimates of cutting the IRS by almost a third. Now, the IRS was gutted in the early 2010s. And that was a devastating blow to the IRS because they lost a lot of their experienced auditors. And there are many fewer audits than there were back then. And this is even in 2010 after the cuts. Now we're talking about cutting another third, and they're losing their good experienced people. And this is a concern to me. We're talking about delays in processing returns and refunds and audits and assistance. And what kind of bothers me is much weaker enforcement on some of these very large companies that have some very sophisticated, perhaps not legal tax plans in place without the oversight and without the manpower to take a look at what is going on. And, estimates are, we could lose $50 billion or some are even much higher because without the, let's say, Uncle Sam looking over your shoulder, there is a lot more incentive to do something that might not be quite right when you, and for most of us, we don't have the opportunities that some of these other companies have to do things that might not quite legally reduce their taxes. So that's the big picture. I'll also tell you what I believe in. I believe in math. All right, it's not so popular these days, but I still believe in math. I do believe in science, and I like having scientists in charge of scientific organizations, not people without a scientific background. I do believe we have a problem with global warming. I believe in peer review. Right now, when the NIH is being attacked, I think we need them more than ever because they are a source of information regarding public health that I believe that we can listen to because the material that they put out is peer reviewed by other experts, which I think is critical because there's so many opinions out there that don't have the credibility of having survived the peer review process, like some of my work and the work of many others. I do believe, and I take this very seriously, in acting like a fiduciary, that is putting the interest of our clients or the people that we serve above our own interests, which in the end, by the way, I think is going to work better for the people who really do take that seriously. Word gets around, and that, in my opinion, is the best way to build a business. I believe in experience. I've been doing this for 40 years, and the experience that I gained is critical. When I do meetings, and these days I used to do virtually all not virtually, but in reality, my early meetings were mostly in person. And today I have more of a national practice, and some people want to meet on the phone, and I say, no, I want to meet on Zoom because reading people's faces, which is something that comes with experience, is really it's really important when you're talking about people's finances and their lives. And that relevant experience, I think, does pay off. I believe in Roth IRA conversions in the right situation, in the right amounts, and in the right years. And I don't believe it's a matter of opinion. I believe, depending on the assumptions that you use, it is ultimately a matter of math. Now, we're in a different environment today than we were in 1998. And with the benefit of hindsight, we can show, and I just in preparing for this workshop, I actually looked it up. I said, well, what if you had $100,000 in the beginning of 1998? And let's say it was just in the S&P. How much would you have today, or actually maybe not today, but let's say the end of 2024? You'd have over $1 million. So your investment went up 10 times. Now, during these years, these were the prime years that I was pitching Roth, but not pitching, I was presenting objective information that indicated Roth IRA conversions were going to be a really big deal. And if you had been following this advice, now even with well, there is no such thing as a normal market, but with even a smaller growth market, people still would have been tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars better off. But instead, with the market that we had, in hindsight, many of the clients like me now have multi-million dollar Roth IRA $1 million Roth IRAs, and it's just going to make an enormous difference, not just as numbers in the bank, but in the lifestyle that they and their children and their grandchildren can afford. Again, you would have enjoyed massive tax-free growth. But by the way, even though the investments went up, inflation roughly doubled. So the stock market did one heck of a lot better than inflation. But again, that isn't today. That said, I'm not a market timer. I don't want to say, oh, we're in this down market, it's going to stay down forever. You better get out of the market. I do believe in the long-term value of staying in the market. I do believe, and the math backs me up on this, that Roth IRA conversions work best over a long time horizon. Most of my clients, ironically, will never spend their Roth, and I suspect that that might be the same with me and my wife, which is our Roth will ultimately go to our daughter. And because she does have a disability, she will be able to stretch that inherited Roth IRA conversion over her entire lifetime. And with the potential threats that we are facing with Medicaid, I want her to be as self-reliant as possible. And since she won't be able to work and make money, I think it's my responsibility as a parent to provide for her. And Roth IRA conversions have been one phenomenal way to provide for her in the long run. And even if you don't have a child with a disability, Roth IRA conversions are still a wonderful way to provide for yourself and your children, maybe not your grandchildren, at least in terms because of the 10-year limitation, which we will get into later. But anyway, then the question becomes, well, should we be doing Roth IRA conversions when I just spouted off all these reasons to be pessimistic about the short-term results for the market? And the answer is, I think that there still is a place, but we have to be more careful, and we have to do it when it is the most favorable situation, where even as long as short ago as a year ago, I might have been more bullish on Roth IRA conversions than I am right now. So why don't we get to some of the math and some of the things that are objective, but they still involve maybe some, let's say, I don't want to say prediction of the future, because that's what I'm just about to do, but I will just say that we do have the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. And basically, there was a big tax cut in 2017, but in order to balance or to not, just hugely increase the deficit, in order to get that passed, we had to say that this tax cut was temporary, and it was going to come. The taxes were going to revert to where they were in 2017 in 2026. And So for a number of years, I've been saying, hey, we have very low tax rates now, but in 2026, the tax rates are going to go back up again. So let's do these Roth conversions when the tax rates are lower. And to support that, I showed, what the tax rates were. And basically it showed if you go to the, let's say the 28% bracket in 2017, you'll see that some of those same numbers are in the 24% bracket for 2025. And the projection was the income was, or the tax rates were going to go back up. All right, well, we don't know that that's going to happen. We know President Trump does not support the tax rates going back up, and there is a very likely chance that the tax cuts will be extended. So that means that we might have more time to make Roth IRA conversions. Again, I'm a little bit afraid of the market, but we likely have more time to make Roth IRA conversions. So I'm not as bullish in making big Roth IRA conversions in 2025 as I was, again, even a year ago, because, things change. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? If we have a new administration in 2028 that is facing huge deficits, maybe we're going to have some tax increases. And if you had made some Roth conversions before 2028, you'd probably be a pretty happy camper. We don't know what's going to happen. And by the way, the argument against lower extended tax rates is that a lot of Republicans who are fiscal conservatives are just afraid that it would increase the deficit too much. So what this means is, to me, we have a longer time horizon to maximize our Roth IRA conversions. I want to be more conservative than I was in the past. I don't feel like we have this looming deadline of 2025 before the tax rates are going up. On the other hand, the math is still the math, and we're going to take a look at that. And it might very well be, particularly if the market goes down even further and we sense an opportunity to make a conversion when the market is lower, to put ourselves in good shape for the future. I think it's important to stay flexible also. All right, so what are some of the things that we are going to think about? We're still going to think about Roth IRA conversions, but be more conservative about those. We are going to have to be more careful about what is going on. And by the way, I lost my screen. So Eric, I assume that you're working on that, or somebody is. Maybe I am. Bear with me for a second. There we go. I got it back. All right. We want to be more conservative, and my clicker is now not working. We're having some technical problems. But why don't we? I'm sorry. Eric, if you could move us along. There we go. We want to be we do want to stay on top of what's going on legislatively, because tax rules can shift rapidly, which could have a big impact on our action steps. And again, I am not having my screen, so I'm going to do this from memory. So what I want to talk about is, let's say, some of the math with Roth IRA conversions. And in order to get into what I consider a legitimate discussion of the math of Roth IRA conversions, I need to teach you what I call the secret. All right. The secret is, in my opinion, the key to understanding Roth IRA conversions, and is also the key to actually understanding your wealth and your purchasing power if you have a significant IRA or retirement plan. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask people to think about money with a new measurement tool and a new paradigm. And what I'd like to do is to talk about how we look at money. Now, usually the way we have historically looked at money is we have said, okay, the person with the most money wins. So let's say for discussion's sake that I have $1 million in my IRA. That's all I have. And let's say that you have $900,000, but not in an IRA, but in a plain brokerage account that you have already paid the income taxes on. Well, I have more money than you, right? Because I have $1 million and you have $900,000. Well, yes, I have more total dollars than you, but can I go out and buy as many goods and services as you can? And the answer is no, I can't. Because if I want to go out and buy goods and services with my $1 million in my IRA, I have to pay income taxes. Without getting into the issue of paying the taxes on the money that you take out of the IRA to pay the taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But let's just keep it as a flat 24% and say, okay, my $900,000 isn't worth my $1 million in my IRA is not worth $1 million. It is only worth $760,000. I think we might have our screen back again. Yeah, we do. So I'm going to skip to where I was going with this. Okay, and where I'm going with this is that the purchasing power of my $1 million is only $760,000. Your purchasing power of your 900,000 is 900,000. So you have more purchasing power than I do. And what I'd like to talk about for Roth IRAs is, and what I'd like you to consider is that you not use total dollars as your measurement tool, that you use purchasing power. So again, let's measure in purchasing power. And let's assume for discussion's sake that we each have $100,000 in a traditional IRA, and we each have $24,000 outside the IRA. So we each have $124,000 total. And let's assume for discussion's sake that I am going to be Mr. Status Quo. That is, I'm not going to make a Roth conversion. And let's say that you make a Roth IRA conversion of your $100,000. And in this example, I conveniently have the $24,000 outside the IRA to pay the taxes, or I should say we both do, but you use yours and now you have $100,000 of a Roth IRA. And I have $100,000 of a traditional IRA and $24,000 outside the IRA. So I have $124,000, you have $100,000 if we measure in total dollars. But what if we measure in purchasing power? All right, now I have $100,000 because when I go to cash my $100,000 of my IRA in, I have to pay $24,000 in taxes, so I only have $100,000 in purchasing power. You already have $100,000 in purchasing power. Guess what? It's a tie. This concept is so important regarding Roth IRA conversions, and this is not what is typically taught, or this is typically not the kind of thing that you see in articles, and it's also not the kind of thinking that is embedded in some of these Roth IRA calculators, which I actually believe many of them do a lot more harm than good. Because if you measure in total dollars instead of purchasing power, what you find is the total dollars is greater for many years if you don't make a Roth IRA conversion. So what that would indicate is that young people, a Roth IRA conversion might be a good thing, but for older people, it would not be a good thing. Well, that is critical because that would tell you, oh, okay, well, I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, and gee, for me to catch up for the taxes that I paid with Roth IRA conversions, I have to wait a long time. And I don't have that many years left. Well, that is true if we measure in total dollars, but if we measure in purchasing power, then it's a break even on day one. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is basically an update of the calculations that I made in 1997 using certain, even conservative estimates on what the long-term growth, not short-term, but the long-term growth in the market is going to be. And I compared people that had the status quo, that is, they had their IRAs, they had their after-tax dollars, and they didn't make a Roth IRA conversion. And I compared that to people who made a series of Roth IRA conversions, and I'm using total purchasing power as my measurement tool. Okay? And what I found was if we use what I call running the numbers analysis, doing a series of Roth conversions between retirement and age 73 versus doing nothing. And I'll admit that those are some of the more favorable years, that the difference was life-changing. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars for us, and for our heirs, literally millions of dollars measured in purchasing power, right? And adjusted for inflation. I'm not going to go through all the assumptions, which, by the way, are available in my books, and I'll flash over the assumptions in the slides. But basically, using what I think were relatively reasonable assumptions, doing $175,000 Roth conversions for 5 years, literally transformed our lives, but even more so, the lives of our children. So when is the classic time to make a Roth IRA conversion? When your rates are low, right? For most of us, it's when you're still working. Let's say you're 65 years old, you're still working, your income is high. And if you made a Roth conversion, that would be on top of your already high income. But let's say you're planning to retire next year, and let's forget about deferred comp or anything like that. Then your income is going to go way down. Then life's going to continue. And then ultimately, you're going to have Social Security and minimum required distributions. So your income is going to go back up. So you do the conversion when you're in a low bracket, just like I did in 1998, because the fire, I had all these expenses and I wasn't reimbursed until the following year. So that is classically the best time. If you were a market timer and you think that the market is going to go back up, well, now would probably be a good time to go to convert because it just went down. I'm a little bit more cautious. I want to really be more conservative about my Roth IRA conversions right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm ready to throw them out the window. And by the way, again, running the numbers for a child, it's incredible what a difference that it does make. And the other thing that we have to think about, actually, before I go on with that, I want to make sure, and I don't want to take questions about the economy and the political environment because that's not really my area of expertise. I presented it today because I think that it does add perspective, and I think a lot of people are looking to people that have historically stayed away from politics professionally to give some kind of perspective. And again, not on what the New York Times is saying, but on what the Wall Street Journal is saying. But before I go into my next area, since I talked about purchasing power, I wanted to see if there were any questions about purchasing power before I went on to my next topic and to maybe give you a little break from hearing me just stop talking nonstop. So Erica, do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions specifically on purchasing power, but we do have questions. Would you like one?
Sure.
The first question that we got this morning came from Bill, and he said, I've gone to the top of the 24% tax bracket with Roth conversions each of the past 2 years. However, my Medicare premiums have skyrocketed. For people who are affected by IRMA, does it make sense to perform Roth conversions up to that amount?
Okay. Why don't we isolate first a little background on the question? All right. Your tax rate is one of, not the only, but one of the critical issues for how much should I convert? If so, when should I convert? And if so, how much I should convert? And the listener made some Roth IRA conversions, and he thought that he was going to make a Roth IRA conversion up to the top of the 24% tax bracket. Earlier we showed what the brackets were. And then what happened was, since your Medicare Part B premium is based on your income of, I believe, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, what happened was because he made that big Roth conversion, his income didn't go to the top of the 24%. It radically increased his premium for Medicare Part B. And he's saying, oh no, now I paid much too much in taxes. Was this a huge mistake? Should I always keep, just be very, very strict and not increase my tax bracket when I am going to increase my Medicare Part B? And of course, the right answer to almost all these questions is you should run the numbers. But here's the short answer, or the short conceptual answer. Yes, your income went up, but what did you get in return? You got a Roth IRA, right? What happens with Roth IRA money? It is not subject to minimum required distributions. So what that means is in future years, your income will be down. And guess what? In future years, your reduced income will reduce your Medicare Part B premium. So it's certainly a factor, and you do have to run numbers for individual situations, but I do not subscribe to the fact or to the advice, never make a Roth IRA conversion if it will increase your Medicare Part B. Why don't we take one or two more and then we'll move on.
Great, thanks, Jim. And in a situation like the one that you described, that the client, that the questioner described, you would recommend doing that analysis about the way that your taxes would be impacted in the future, like all of that cohesive analysis, such as it's available to do, like using numbers available, like doing those projections now before you make the conversions, right? So that you have a full picture of what you're doing.
Yeah, we're obviously big on what we call running the numbers. I don't like to guess. Yes, we don't know what's going to happen with the market, and we can't even be sure what's going to happen with tax rates or the tax law. But you take your best shot, and you run the numbers, and you run numbers in different scenarios, and you also have to consider the time horizon. Most of my clients will not spend their Roth IRAs and Roth IRA conversions, including myself. And again, we have a couple $1 million in Roths that we will likely never spend because, at least in my mind, while we are hundreds of thousands of dollars better off, so if we wanted to spend it, it would have still been a great thing, but we want it for our daughter. For people, so if you're talking about people for Medicare Part B, so he's at least 65 years old. Is his time horizon the next 2 years, the next 5 years, or maybe the next 10 or 20 years, or maybe even beyond his own life? And these are things that we have to take into consideration. And a lot of times we don't stop, quote, running the numbers, not just for our lives or our clients' lives, but the lives of our clients' children. I hope that, let's say, answers your expansion of the question.
I think it does. Um, the last question that I'll take for now comes from Jennifer, and she asks, for non-spousal inherited IRA and personal 401ks, are Roth conversions advisable for 22% tax bracket 5 years away from retirement at 70? I fear that this is another one of those run the numbers, but if you have any broad considerations that someone in a situation like that might want to take, or advisement for some larger group of our listeners or viewers.
Well, this is what I will do. This question is what I'll call a spoiler alert. All right. So let's take the situation where somebody has a significant 401k plan, for example, and they're in a very high tax bracket. And they're thinking about Roth conversions, but let's even say that they are older, or maybe they're not in good health, and their beneficiary, because the question was a non-spouse beneficiary, maybe most likely one or more of their children is in a low tax bracket. Does it make sense to do a Roth 401k conversion while you're alive when you're going to leave the money to somebody in a much lower bracket after you're gone? Well, the quick answer without running the numbers is no. What you'd like to do, which we have done, and you can't do this all the time, and there's a bunch of hoops that you have to go through, and it's not going to work for a lot of people. But in the ideal world, are you ready for this one? Because this one is something, unless you've been listening to me, you probably haven't heard about this one, because even a lot of the experts know about this. Did you know under the right circumstances, you can make a Roth 401k conversion of an inherited 401k after the 401k owner dies? So let's say it's the ideal world. We have this taxpayer with a 401k in a high tax bracket. He doesn't make the conversion. He dies. He leaves it to a non-spouse beneficiary in a low tax bracket. And then they make what is most likely a series of inherited 401k conversions to an inherited Roth conversion after death. Very cool, little known strategy that is coming up. But that's the, let's say, sexier way to answer the question than to go through some of the math. And I'm just assuming in this case, the math doesn't work while you're alive, but it does work after you're gone. And it's something that people, hardly anybody knows about it. Even fewer people do it. And I will admit that there are some hoops that you have to go through, but we've gone through those hoops. And for a lot of people, it just won't work. But for a number of people, it does. And it, again, it can be one of those things that makes an enormous difference. Okay. Eric, if you could help me with my clicker. I'm sorry, we seem to be having technical issues today.
Jim, if Eric is getting that sorted out, I do have another question that is actually on purchasing power.
Okay. All right, why don't we take, by the way, technically we're okay, but let's take the question anyway.
Okay. Edward said on converting IRA to Roth in the purchasing power example, you said that it was equal, but what about the compounding interest on the money if you left it in the IRA and didn't use it to pay the taxes? In other words, are you factoring in the loss of the compounding amount that you would have paid in taxes?
Oh my goodness, Edward, I forgot to do that. I missed it. All the peer reviewers missed it. The articles that I've been writing for 25 years missed it. No, Edward, I have taken that into consideration. A different way to look at it, Edward, and the math does check out, and you can certainly look at the math, but here's a different way of looking at it. If you were a farmer and you had two choices, one, you could buy some seed, deduct the cost of the seed, plant the seed, have a great harvest, and pay tax on the harvest. Or would you rather forego the income tax deduction on the seed and have the harvest grow tax-free. Well, the math shows that even foregoing the tax deduction, the tax-free growth, assuming a positive return over the long run, is going to be far more valuable. So, Edward, you might catch me on some math, not likely, but certainly not something on something that is so basic. And by the way, that is one of the reasons I like to have things that are peer reviewed, because let's say that I did make a big mistake. Well, I'm not going to get it through 10 nitpicking CPAs who understand this stuff inside out. They would tear the article apart. And they didn't, they supported it. And by the way, the other thing that I'll mention about that peer review article is I just kind of threw in almost as just something that it was an idea that I was proud of the type of estate planning that I was doing. And I thought that the peer reviewers would kick it out and say, hey, no, that's not cool. You know, this is about Roth, not estate planning. And instead, they loved it. And they actually asked me to expand my discussion of estate planning and the cascading beneficiary plan, which is the subject of what I believe is the best estate plan for most married couples, which is part of our session, our second session today. All right. So anyway, I did want to also talk a little about, very briefly, about the Secure Act. The Secure Act basically says that when we die and we leave money in an IRA or a Roth IRA or a 401k or a Roth 401k, et cetera, unlike the old rules where our beneficiaries, our non-spousal beneficiaries, could stretch or defer distributions on that money to some extent over their whole lifetime, they're going to have to take all the money out in 10 years. So most of my initial analysis for the Roth IRA conversions was done when the beneficiary could stretch it over their entire lifetime, which is still the case for parents of a child with a disability like my daughter, but it is not the case for most of us who have children that don't have a disability who are going to have to take the money out in 10 years. And if you compare the impact between dying with, say, $1 million in an IRA before 2010, when the beneficiary could stretch the IRA over their life, compared to now you'll see in the serrated line that beneficiary runs out of money given certain reasonable assumptions, where they have over $2 million today. So we also have to contend with that tax law. And sometimes Roth IRA conversions are a very good way of helping reduce that massive income tax hit that our kids are going to have when we die under today's law. And here's the other thing, and I've said this about 2 or 3 times today and probably about 1 million times over the last 25 years. Roth IRA conversions, it's a matter of math. It's not opinion. And I'll tell you what happens to me all the time, and it just hurts me so much when somebody is exposed to some of my information and they say, hey, Jim, I never heard that before. And they come and we have a consultation, and a lot of times they had previous advisors, and and they come to me after they're taking minimum required distributions, and I said, well, when did you retire? Now, well, 10 years ago, or they give me some number, when to me it was just so obvious that they should have been making huge Roth conversions between retirement and minimum required distribution. And they say that, oh, well, my advisor, he was kind of giving me arguments for and giving me some arguments against. And and it was all this non-quantitative BS that I can't stand. And to me, and this is a note for advisors, just like I might say factors of investments, I'm not going to tell somebody get in the market, get out of the market, time the market, because I don't know that stuff. It's not my area of expertise. If you're an advisor and you don't know about Roth IRA conversions, rather than just saying, hey, I really don't know about Roth conversions, get that information from an expert, which, by the way, is why I am not an investment advisor. I much prefer to do the part that I am an expert in and then team up with people who are experts in the market. Although, frankly, I'm not sure anybody can really beat the market or know when to get in and out of the market. But Roth IRA conversions are a matter of math. It's not a matter of opinion. And yes, the tax laws can change, and yes, the assumptions can be different than what you assume. But if you take away those factors, it is a matter of math. And don't try to some of the factors that I was talking about earlier were questions about which assumptions you might want to consider, but it's still math. Okay. And one of the big mistakes is not using the math. And we're going to talk about some of the other mistakes later on. Okay. I'm not going to beat this subject anymore, but again, the methodology that we use to run the numbers right now, it's basically an updated version of the methodology that we used in the first peer review article on Roth IRA conversions back with the tax advisor in 1998. Okay, are there any other questions? Because I know I'm a little bit over in terms of time, and I'm going to skip something that I don't think is that important. But why don't I take one or two more questions while and then go to the next, what I think is the next very important area.
Yes, we have about an hour left in the webinar. There are plenty of questions though, so I'll serve a couple more up to you. Joe asked, do you recommend doing Roth conversions for retired people whose primary income is Social Security?
Well, what you have to be careful if your primary income is Social Security, because if you do the Roth conversions, you might end up taxing your Social Security. So, Social Security can be taxed at either 0 or up to 85%, depending on your tax bracket. And so, frankly, most of my clients are paying taxes on their Social Security because they have other income. If again, it comes down to running the numbers. You have to run the numbers in that situation. It sounds like an opportunity. Usually people listening to this webinar, they're going to at one point hit minimum required distributions that are going to increase their tax bracket. So you can't just look at your tax bracket in the short term. You have to look at it both in the short term and in the long term. Why don't I take one more question and then we will move on.
Absolutely. Linda asked you for an opinion or your opinions, your informed opinion, let's say, about the future of the backdoor Roth conversion for people whose income is too high for regular Roth contributions.
Okay, and I don't mean to correct the question, but when we talk about backdoor Roth, we're talking about a Roth contribution, not a conversion. So basically, the Roth IRA contribution has income limits. And one of the ways that I've been a big advocate, and I've been doing it personally for myself and my wife for many years, is even though our income was too high to make a Roth contribution, you were allowed to make a non-deductible IRA contribution and then later convert that to a Roth. There's some limitations on that I don't have the time to go into, but I'll just say that it's a very cool technique. I've been doing it for years. I've been advocating it for years. To my knowledge, there is nothing threatening it. Maybe there will be. I try to keep up on not just on what the law is, but on potential changes, which is why I think that we're not going to have a big tax rate increase in the short term, but I don't know of any threat to that. The other thing that I will mention, since we are about halfway through, is, and we're going to get into a lot more meat in the last hour, and I know I've spent some time on the, let's call it environment, but I think that that's important. And I think that a lot of us are just kind of going along. Maybe we're a little bit afraid, but I actually think that there's some good reasons to be afraid. We're going to get into, let's call it, more objective information very soon. So during the election, many people think that President Trump won because, well, it was basically a third, meaning a third of the people voted for Trump, a third of the people voted for Harris, and a third of the people didn't vote. But I think a lot of the third that voted for President Trump thought that he would do a better job controlling inflation. I'm not sure that that's true. I think that there's a lot of factors in there that president can't control that are more important for inflation, but there are some things that that can be controlled, at least to some extent. Deficits, tariffs, tax cuts, all these things will increase inflation. Labor availability, if we have less labor, the cost of labor is going to go up. Factors that could decrease inflation, federal spending reductions, reduced regulation, increase in energy production, all of which arguably will happen under President Trump. So you have these two competing areas, one that will likely increase inflation, one that will decrease or level off inflation. I fear that the factors increasing inflation might override the factors that will decrease inflation. So I did want to talk about the math of inflation and Roth IRA conversions. So here is the math. All right. Now you remember when I said, okay, let's take two people with $100,000 in an IRA and $24,000 outside an IRA. All right. And I said we were going to measure in purchasing power. So let's continue that analysis, but let's assume that we have a 20% inflation. Okay. So now our $100,000 in the IRA is really worth only $80,000. And our $24,000 in after-tax dollars is now really only worth $19,200. But if we're still using a 24% tax rate and we apply that to the traditional IRA, we get our purchasing power after inflation of $80,000. Compare that to somebody who used their $19,200 to make a Roth IRA conversion on their $80,000 traditional IRA. Well, guess what? It's still a tie. Okay, so on day one, even if you have inflation of 20,000, and the analysis would be the same if the inflation was 2%, 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, if inflation is uniform, that it doesn't have an impact in favor or against Roth IRA conversions. So you shouldn't, in most cases, use the overall inflation index as a factor for or against Roth IRA conversions. On the other hand, inflation doesn't occur uniformly. So let's say, for discussion's sake, that you have big minimum required distributions, right? And you're going to have a big tax on it. And there's a big inflation. And inflation reduces your tax rate. All right. Well, that might be a factor in favor of making a Roth IRA conversion. Medicare Part B. All right. I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. that would be a factor against making a conversion. Medicare Part B, which again would reduce taxes, increase temporarily, that would be an argument well, not an argument, that would support the math of making a higher Roth IRA conversion. So you have to take a look at your own individual situation, even with regards to inflation. Okay, and the other thing, and I'm not going to go through a whole thing with Social Security, but we are still, notwithstanding some of the threats to Social Security, which I don't think are politically feasible, particularly for people who are in their mid-60s or older. I think their bigger threat is to people who are younger. But anyway, holding off on Social Security and making a series of Roth IRA conversions is a synergistic calculation, and the difference between, for example, making a series of Roth conversions and holding up on Social Security, because remember, when you hold up on Social Security, you're reducing your income, which gives you more room to make a Roth conversion at a lower rate. And the difference can literally be millions of dollars, even just over your lifetime, not even including the benefits to your children in the long run. So I will just throw that in there. Why don't we take some more questions before I go into a case study?
The next, I'd like to take one from the live room next. We did have a few pre-submitted, and I definitely want to get to those. So if you're one of the people who sent one in, don't worry, we do have those, and I will be asking some of those. So Jim, Allison asked, we will be getting healthcare from age 60 to 65 on the ACA exchange and plan to keep income low to qualify for subsidies, which will limit our room to do Roth conversions. Is qualifying for subsidies, which can be quite significant, better than paying more for healthcare in order to do Roth conversions?
All right, by the way, this is a classic issue. So what we're talking about here, typically referred to as Obamacare. And Obamacare premium for health insurance is dependent on income. And if you make a Roth IRA conversion, your income goes up, which means your income for the purposes of what you pay for health insurance for Obamacare goes up. So then the question is at least the way I would reinterpret the question is, does that increase that we pay for tax, well, not for taxes, but for insurance now, worth it to get a Roth IRA conversion? And again, the answer is going to be you have to run the numbers, but I'll just make an assumption here. So the questioner, Allison, is probably not working because otherwise she would probably have health care. It's not likely that she's not working now, but she will work when she's age 65 or older. It might be better to enjoy the lower premium for Obamacare and do the Roth conversions after you qualify for Medicare, which, by the way, is also under attack. It's mainly Medicaid, but Medicaid does support Medicare. So again, you have to run the numbers, Allison, but I'll just say that one factor, you might be better off waiting. The other thing that I'll mention is we have run numbers for whether people should get married or not based on the cost of Obamacare. So this actually came up a bunch of times in real life. We had, let's say, two unmarried folks. One, let's assume, has a high income. One has a low income. Let's assume the low income person has not yet reached 65 and has not yet qualified for Medicare. All right. Well, if they get married, boom, the joint income goes up and the Obamacare premium becomes, very expensive. So should they wait until age 65 in order to get the benefit of the low cost of Obamacare healthcare premiums? And the answer is, if you're willing to take the chance that there isn't going to be a death before the lower income person reaches age 65, because there's all kinds of good reasons to get married after age 65, it often does make sense. And that was some of the advice that we have given people. I hate to say it, but we've even been a little bit in the marriage advice, and we're not telling somebody to get married or not get married because of love and all that kind of stuff, but assuming that we are, and assuming that we're not doing a fraud on the courts, which is a whole other issue. Sometimes the timing of getting married is important. And by the way, a lot of times, and I actually have a whole chapter of it in one of my books called Get Married for the Money. We show the financial benefits, particularly older folks, to get married. But why don't we take a couple more questions and then we'll do a case study.
Thanks, Jim. The next question is another one from an attendee in the live room. And they said, at age 78, what tax rate makes sense for me to convert IRA to Roth for my two children's inheritance? And how would I do it? Right now, I'm gifting $19,000 each to each child and spouse each year. So that's the annual exclusion limit right now for 2025 is $19,000.
All right, well, first I'll, again, it's a matter of math. So I want to just say every answer to every question is it's a matter of math. So you're talking about a 78-year-old, and I'm just going to take a wild guess that this 78-year-old is not a big spender. And he or she is satisfied with their spending amount, and they are planning for their kids, and they're making $19,000 gifts, and they're thinking about Roth conversions for themselves. But it will be with the idea of benefiting their children. And they're making these $19,000 gifts. Well, first of all, you might consider gifting more than $19,000 a year. And we will talk about that in the second session, in the estate planning session, which is probably a very good idea. And the second issue is it might make more sense if you're talking about not just your life, but the life of your child, to take a look at doing higher conversions because we have a longer investment horizon. So let's say the 78-year-old figures that his life expectancy is 10 or 15 years. Well, we can add another 10 years onto the analysis because we're now including an additional 10 years of the tax-free feature of the Roth conversion, which might lead to a higher Roth conversion amount. So I like to see that. And the other thing is, we didn't talk about it, but what state you live in is very important, and the state of your beneficiary. So if you're in California or New York, that will ding you for the income tax that you're paying on Roth IRA conversions, not just at the federal level and the state level, and you're leaving it to an heir who is in a state that doesn't tax IRAs, that's going to be less favorable. On the other hand, if you live in Pennsylvania and your kids live in New York or California, that's going to be even more favorable, which, by the way, that is part of the analysis of whether, when, and how much to do a Roth conversion. But I think that it is smart for the 78-year-old not just to be thinking about their life, but to think about, well, what about my legacy? And why don't we take one more, and then we will do a case study.
Great. Sorry about that, everybody. Another question that we got from Ricky is, do you consider your state taxes when making Roth decisions? I live in New Jersey, but might move to Florida in retirement.
Interestingly, the question came before I just mentioned about the state. Here's what I would say, knowing nothing else. New Jersey is a high tax state, and New Jersey taxes you on your Roth conversions. And if you're going to move to Florida next year, knowing nothing else, I would most likely say hold off on your Roth conversions until you move to Florida, because Florida doesn't have an income tax and on Roth conversions or anything else for that matter. So wait until you move to Florida and then do your Roth conversions. On the other hand, if you're in a low tax bracket now for federal purposes, and then you're going to move to Florida, and as soon as you move to Florida, your minimum required distribution is going to kick in, and then your federal taxes are going to go way up. Well, it might make more sense to just take the state tax hit in New Jersey because you're going to save so much money. But everything else being equal, I would wait until you go to the no income tax state before you make your Roth conversion. Okay? And I do want to just do a case study that gives you some idea of some of the potential savings that, we'll have a longer discussion of running the numbers in a minute, but just some of the benefits to you and your family of something that isn't all that atypical in terms of what we see. And I'm not going to go through all the assumptions, but in this case, I'll assume that we have a couple $1 million of traditional retirement plans. We do have some money to pay income taxes on a series of conversions. We have some Roth money right now. The assumption that could probably be attacked that might not be realistic, because I'm using more of a conservative long-term rate, is I'm using a 6.5% rate of return. You might not think that that's going to happen, certainly in the short term. And I'm using a 3.5% inflation rate. Again, we did some analysis showing inflation in isolation should not impact the situation. We're assuming that the IRA owner and their spouse die at age 90, that their kids are going to be somewhere around age 60. And we're assuming that both husband and wife are still working, maybe have a couple more years to work, and they're spending a little over $100,000. So what is the status quo? All right. Well, by the way, we almost never want to take Social Security before full retirement age. But a lot of people say, okay, I'm retired, Social Security is available, I get 100% of my benefit, I'm going to take my Social Security at age 67. So both spouses take Social Security at 67. Both spouses are maximizing their $30,000 into their 401k. And they say, okay, I've had enough with Roth conversions. And by the way, that's not all that unrealistic. And those are not stupid. I'm not comparing the stupidest thing you could do versus the smartest thing you could do. I'm just doing something that is, reasonable versus optimal. Well, we might say, hey, yeah, you're going to get 100% of your Social Security if you wait till 67. But if you wait until age 70, you get 132%. And then that additional 32% is not only going to be for the rest of your life, but it's also going to be for the rest of the survivor of you and your spouse. So we're going to recommend that you hold off till for the spouse with the higher earner to hold off until age 70. Then we're also going to recommend, at least in this particular situation, that we contribute money to a Roth 401k, not a traditional 401k. We also recommend 3 years of annual backdoor Roth conversions, something that not a lot of people are doing. Then we optimized it, and I'm not going to go through all the math, but some years we determined 50,000, some years 100,000, some year 200,000. And the difference over time for you and your kids was $3.7 million in today's dollars. So getting this planning right is not just a little thing. It is a big thing. All right. Couple advanced concepts. You can convert after-tax dollars inside your IRA to a Roth without having to pay the tax. You have to jump through some hoops on that. I don't have enough time to go through that at length, but it's something we've done many times in practice. A lot of times people didn't even know that that was a possibility. The only thing better than a Roth IRA conversion was a Roth IRA conversion where you don't have to pay any tax. I think I had just mentioned in one of the questions, converting a traditional 401k or a Roth or a 403b to a Roth after you die. Very, very cool stuff. And then some of the advanced topics for some people will be withdrawing money from an IRA now, paying the taxes now, gifting that money, and then having your kids invest in something tax-free like a Roth IRA for themselves, like a Roth 401k, like a 529 education fund for your grandkids, life insurance, something that doesn't have taxes associated.
Allow me to ask you some important questions. Do you want to protect yourself and your family from massive income tax acceleration? Are you at least slightly concerned that future income and other tax increases will unnecessarily decimate your hard-earned savings and threaten the financial legacy you plan to pass on to your children and grandchildren? Are you willing to take action and defend yourself from government confiscation of your hard-earned money? Are you ready to take proactive steps that could help you and your heirs get the most out of what you've got? If you answered yes, this short video could be the most important thing you have ever watched. Imagine you could wave a magic wand and have a rock-solid financial master plan that has all your financial affairs in order. Think about how you would feel if you never had to worry about money because you had solid data that allowed you to make informed financial decisions, not guesses. How much better would you sleep at night knowing your financial master plan is in place? I'm going to share with you how you can make that happen. But first, let's talk about why it's so crucial to develop and implement your holistic, long-term retirement and estate plan. First, thanks to the sunsetting of the rates set by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it's likely that your current income taxes will go up in 2026. But even if legislation is passed to enshrine the current rates before they expire, raising income tax rates isn't the only way to raise taxes. Jim Lange predicted the death of the stretch IRA and advocated defenses against it more than 5 years before the Secure Act became law. Jim had the foresight that almost no other retirement and estate planning experts did. He understood that the end of the preferential tax treatment of inherited IRAs and retirement plans wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Now Jim predicts higher capital gains tax rates, changes to federal tax exemptions, elimination of step-up in basis rules, and estate tax increases. Congress pulled a bait and switch on you, and it was just plain wrong. You were promised that contributions to your IRAs and retirement plans would pass to your heirs with significant tax advantages. Remember the stretch IRA? Because you were fiscally responsible, you acted on that promise. You sacrificed so you could put as much money as you could into your retirement plans. Then, late in the game, Congress pulled the rug out from under you by passing the Secure Act. The consequence of Congress's actions with the Secure Act? A massive income tax acceleration on money you thought was protected. But there is a way for you to fight back and protect your wealth from the Congress's greedy hands. We can offer you the means and the tools to pull back some of that money. There is no single strategy that will solve all these problems and ensure your future financial security. Nor is there a one-size-fits-all combination of strategies that is right for everyone. But Jim and his team will help you find the right combination for you and your family. Here are just a few of the strategies in Jim's arsenal. a series of timely Roth IRA conversions to be executed over a number of years, Social Security optimization, lifetime safe spending analysis, spend the right money first analysis, appropriate asset location analysis, estate plan evaluation, lifetime and testamentary gifting strategy, including leveraging lifetime gifts to children and grandchildren, and our tax-savvy Who Gets What estate planning analysis. And all of these will be adapted to your unique situation and calibrated to provide the best results for you and your family. The choice to develop your financial master plan is not a choice to maintain the status quo. It's a proactive choice to improve upon the status quo and secure the future you dream of for yourself and your family. When you meet with Jim, he may propose implementing the superbly flexible Lange's Cascading Beneficiary Plan. Its flexibility protects your spouse, allows for the possibility of directing money to your children after the first death, and allows for the possibility of directing money to your grandchildren with parents as trustees. These options are not available with traditional planning. Lange's Cascading Beneficiary Plan is really an estate planning system that should be considered for virtually all of your assets. It works for wills and revocable trusts, IRAs and retirement plans, Roth IRAs, and Lange's Cascading Beneficiary Plan is only one tool in Jim's arsenal. The first step toward peace of mind and a good night's sleep is to request a Retire Secure consultation with Jim Lange. During your 1-hour private Zoom consultation with Jim and one of his number-crunching CPAs, you'll discover how to cut your taxes and preserve your wealth. Jim will answer all your questions and concerns and likely suggest 2 or more tax-reducing strategies you had not thought about. Jim takes a multidisciplinary approach to securing your retirement. He accounts for taxes, legal, and investments. Jim has given thousands of consultations over the years and has never had anyone say or even imply that it wasn't worth their time. Why? Because Jim delivers real-world value and not a sales pitch. At the end of your Retire Secure consultation, you will have the outline for a concrete plan of action to maximize your retirement prosperity and generational wealth. Then you will have 3 options. You will thank Jim for his time and valuable recommendations and most likely end up doing nothing. You'll want Jim and his team to run full retirement and estate planning projections, producing your personalized financial master plan for a one-time investment of between $12,500 and $22,500, depending on the complexity of your situation. Or you'll want your personal financial master plan, and you'll want Jim's team to help you implement the plan, and have one of Jim's strategic partners manage at least a portion of your assets. If you select option 3, your personal financial master plan is included for free, and your personal financial master plan will be updated every year at no additional cost, provided you place a minimum of $2 million under management. A no-obligation Retire Secure consultation will likely provide you with at least one idea worth 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can get it now for free, without obligation. The purpose of the Retire Secure consultation isn't to sell you. It is to determine if you are the right fit to work with Jim and his team. Please note that Jim will not take you on as a client unless he thinks he can save you and your family many times his fee. Jim only has a limited number of slots available for the free Retire Secure consultation before there is a waiting list. Since Jim personally conducts each consultation, and there are hundreds of attendees on this virtual event, Jim will almost certainly not have enough available appointments to meet demand. In addition, Jim's team will likely not have sufficient time to meet demand for financial master plan development. Developing each financial master plan is a time and labor-intensive process, and with ongoing obligations to existing clients, Jim and his CPAs only have so much capacity to take on new clients. So, to secure your free Retire Secure consultation with Jim Lange, click the offer link and complete the appointment request form now. Listen, with the uncertainty in the country, it's natural to be concerned about your financial future. But with proper planning, you can protect yourself and your family from massive taxation, get the most out of what you've got, and maximize retirement prosperity and generational wealth. And the first step is simple and free. Click on the offer link and request your Retire Secure consultation with Jim Lange. Don't wait and be disappointed. A happier, less stressful, and more abundant life awaits. Take action to secure your family's financial future now. Request your free Retire Secure consultation by clicking on the offer link.